Rwy'n fel mai. Os rhoedwch chi dyma bach o raff i'r rhai bobl, maen nhw'n cymeryd rhywbyd mawr o'n ni. Mae'n aml un bach yn gallu bod yn eitha forceful os ydw. Ai, ambell un yn cydio yn eich coler chi a tynnu'ch cap chi off a gweud you know where you'll be if you don't get out of my way. So, trio wsio pen a siarad yn ddechrau nhw, ond.
The last mile or so till destination, Strata, Florida.
It's a very, very important abbey in Welsh history and Welsh culture. It has a lot of resonance to Wales, indeed to Welsh nationalists, because the abbey was considered to be a centre for Welsh resistance to the Normans and the English.
When was it founded?
Founded in the mid-12th century. It was built by the Cistercians, who chose places like this. They liked to have wild and remote areas. But it rapidly became a Welsh centre. It had Welsh abbots who looked after it. It had the Welsh princes came here. Llewellyn the Great insisted that his princes swore fealty to him in the abbey here, and several of them are buried here.
So too are less exalted persons.
This is the grave of a tramp who died on the Monk's Trod in 1929. He died upon the hillside drear, alone where snow was deep. By strangers he was carried here, where princes also sleep.
This venerable tree marks the burial place of the great Welsh poet, Dafydd ap Gwilym. There are plans to develop the monastery's old farm buildings. There will be a hotel and visitors centre. Heritage matters. Heritage can be profitable. And there is heritage of a different kind. What are you looking for, Ray?
Well, a plant that's all too easy to find, really, the purple moorgrass. It's this very common tussocky grass that occurs all over the Cambrian Mountains. It's also earned the name of flying bent because the leaves come away in the winter. It's our only grass that sheds its leaves, and then they fly in the breeze and they collect on fences and so on. You get these great drifts of the leaves. It's also called disco grass because when you try and walk through it, you end up gyrating and falling over, rather like I do in a disco.
Some of the history of the mountains is buried under the peat and the long grass. It's never been easy to make a living up here. It is not the Garden of Eden. Ray Woods is an expert on every aspect of the natural life of the Cambrian Mountains, and he draws, not always cheering, conclusions about its present and its future.
Well, I've managed to extract a core of peat and a little bit of silt here from inside this bog. The peat is the remains of dead plant material, and it records the whole history of the vegetation here, probably over the last 200 to 300 years. Because in the 50 years that I've known the Cambrian Mountains, this tussock grass, the purple moorgrass, has spread to cover vast areas, and from an agricultural point of view, it's a very poor value, and from a walker's point of view, it's a disaster because it's so unpleasant to walk through. So I'm curious to know a lot more about what's going on here, why the vegetation of the Cambrian Mountains is changing, and changing in a way that's probably not desirable for many of us.
Is there anything anyone can do about that, or?
Well, that's an interesting question. If we understood more about what caused the changes, then we might have some better ideas as to how we might put the clock back. If you look at the peat here, you find till about 1750, most of this area was dominated by bog mosses and a whole suite of bog-loving plants. The climate then got very dry, there were bad fires, and just as the bogs were starting to recover in the late 1700s, the Industrial Revolution happened, and we find soot particles appearing in the peat, and with it, comes the purple moorgrass. And ever since the early 1800s, the purple moorgrass appears to have got more and more common and dominant. We don't fully understand why. Maybe because of atmospheric pollution, the Molinia liked some of the nitrogen compounds that got deposited. It could be that there was a change in management. Horses reduced in number, cattle reduced in number until the Second World War, of course, when the subsidy system came in and everybody produced lots and lots of sheep. And maybe the Molinia just loved to survive with sheep. It hates cattle, it hates ponies because they eat it down in the winter. So we've got a bit of an environmental disaster on our hands in a way. And for everybody's benefit, the farmers in the Cambrian Mountains and the recreationalists, this is a big issue that I think we now need to face up to and try and sort out.
Beyond this spot above the River Wye are miles of undisturbed wilderness, now under the protection of the National Trust. It stretches south to another, more craggy region of the Cambrian Mountains, intersected by remote valleys and mountain rivers. We're in Ceredigion. Here too the walkers come, and they need somewhere to stay.
This hostel Dolgorch is run by the Iolo Wilderness Hostels Trust. It was originally owned by the YHA, but 3 years ago the YHA announced it was selling over 30 hostels in England and Wales, including the 3 in this area of the Cambrian Mountains. And as these are such gems of places, simple hostels, a place to escape to from the modern world, well, we were quite devastated, so a few of us got together and we formed a charitable trust with the aim of hopefully raising enough money to buy at least one of the hostels and run it. We cater for people who come to stay, people who come to the area to walk, to cycle. We get a lot of cyclists to birdwatch. People can stay for one night or as long as they want. It's a very simple hostel. We have no electricity, just gas lighting, and that's part of the attraction of the place for many people. And we have no central heating as such, an open coal log fire, again, which is part of the attraction.
And this is what the walkers come for, as near an unspoiled area of Britain as you could hope for. And again, it bears the marks of its own history.
The little house is called Llyn-Gwyn. In 1900, my grandparents lived there, Thomas Jones and Mary Ann, and their 2 daughters, Lizzie Mary and Sarah Ann. And he was a shepherd working these lovely hills behind me here. They got married in 1897 in Sower Mynydd Chapel, which is probably about 2.5 to 3 miles over the hills behind me, right up in the hills of Ceredigion. Beautiful, beautiful place.
The chapel has been one of the great defining components of Welsh life, never more so than here. And people still travel miles to worship here. And this was by no means an unsophisticated congregation. John Griffiths was medical advisor to a British Prime Minister, Sir Anthony Eden. He worshipped here and preached here in Welsh.
The chapel was built in 1822 with the help of neighbouring, there were a lot of small farms here then, and timbers coming to Aberystwyth and horse and cart from there up to here, and the stones gather them around the mountains.
My brother is the secretary. Yeah.
Treasurer.
Treasurer, sorry.
Yes, of the money.
How important is the church to Wales, to the countryside around here?
We get a big congregation every Sunday now. Well, we haven't got any electricity here, so no lighting and no heating.
People used to come on ponies, didn't they?
Yeah.
Gyfaint cyffylu o'n i'n arfer dod pan o'n i'n blentyn, ifanc. O'n i'n dechrau o ffarm le o'n i'n byw, a mae'n nid i 8 y bore, cwrdd fan hyn am 10, a o'n i'n mynd nôl, wedyn i gael cino byn hanner awr 12, a wedyn oedd ysgol Sul da ni fan lle o'n i'n byw. Ysgol Sul yn y cartref yn y tŷ.
What effect did the forestry have on the area around here?
O, gath e lot o, altrodd e lot o ffordd.
Depopulation.
Yeah.
Coedwigodd, jungle. Yeah.
But that drove the houses, they built the house, people moved away.
Wel, o'n nhw'n talu arian da am y ffermydd amser ni. O'n talu lan i gan pint yr erw. So ddim temptation of nadw. Oedd y ffermyr ffordd hyn, bywyd tlawd iawn oedd nhw. Bywyd tlawd. Oedd dim cerbydeg ar amser ni. Na un peth, oedd y coedwigodd oedd hewlydd. A Cambrianau wrth gwrs.
This part of the Cambrian Mountains is not just a repository of memories of old times. This dam was built in the 1970s. Later, it was extended to provide much-needed hydroelectricity. It derives its power from a great lake behind the dam. There was a movement to make this part of a much larger national park. It came to nothing, but the idea of a designation that would help preserve the region's beauty has never gone away. Man-made lakes, man-made forestry, the Cambrian Mountains have absorbed them all, and the habitat has flourished.
But when you think back to the early 1900s, there was 4 kites here and 2 further up the valley, and from those, with the help of a lot of the local people, with the RSPB, the Kites Trust, they've managed to nurture and bring them back to the numbers that they are today, and hopefully they will increase for the future.
What else might you find up here?
You will find now red squirrels. Although we had red squirrels in abundance many years ago, like everywhere else they've disappeared, but there's been a program now to reintroduce them. And further over up the valley there is a project ongoing where they've reintroduced a number of red squirrels, and I understand it's fairly successful. Otherwise, you get the normal animal and bird life. In fact, I can hear the birds calling over the other side of the valley now. In fact, we're above the Doethia River here now, in the Doethia Valley, and I've got a feeling it's probably peregrine falcons we can hear. And basically, this is what this area, it's, as you can see, it is beautiful. And really, it's worthy of, it should have been a national park in 1973, but obviously it's worthy of area of outstanding national beauty by anybody's imagination. And as somebody who's born in this area, I'm very proud of it. It's part of Wales, and I'll do all I can to try and preserve it as best I can.